Hi guys, last week we were investigating part-part whole problems involving two or more parts. This week we're going to analyse and solve comparison problems that involve more than two parts, and we're going to need to take at least two steps in order to do that. So we might be interested in working out one of the parts, or maybe the difference between two of the parts, or we might even be interested in working out the whole amount. To begin with, let's get thinking. Here we've got Woody, Buzz and Jessie, and they've each got some sweets. Woody has 5 sweets, Buzz has 7 sweets, and Jessie has 10 sweets. Now I'm not interested in you calculating the whole amount or the difference between the amounts. I'm going to tell you those. I'm interested in the questions that you can come up with based on that information. So you're really going to have to think about what you want to ask and what information you need to give in the question so that somebody else could solve it. So let's fill in the whole amount and the differences. They've got 22 sweets altogether. Buzz has 2 more sweets than Woody, and Jessie has 3 more than Buzz. So I'm interested in how many different questions can you come up with about their sweets. I can use words like altogether, more than, less than, and fewer to help. Let's do an example. Let's say I wanted to ask a question where I wanted to work out how many sweets Buzz has. So that's the unknown. What information might we give so that it could be solved? I could give the number of sweets that Woody has and the difference between Woody and Buzz. So my question might be, Woody has 5 sweets, Buzz has 2 more sweets than Woody. How many sweets does Buzz have? But I could try something a bit trickier. Let's say I wanted to ask a question where I wanted to work out how many sweets Jessie has. So that's the unknown in this case. What information might we give so that it could be solved? I could give the number of sweets that Woody has, the difference between Woody and Buzz, and the difference between Buzz and Jessie. So my question might be, Woody has 5 sweets, Buzz has 2 more sweets than Woody, Jessie has 3 more sweets than Buzz. How many sweets does Jessie have? This question is trickier because I'm giving 3 pieces of information there. I'm giving the amount of sweets that Woody has, the amount more that Buzz has than Woody, and the amount more that Jessie has than Buzz. So this question is going to take 2 steps to solve it. I'm going to start with my 5, I'm going to add 2, and I'm going to add 3, rather than just the 1 step that the previous question had. Pause the video for a few minutes and work with a partner to see what questions you can come up with. It's time to get investigating with a partner. I've got 2 problems I'd like you to have a go at together. Bo Peep bakes 8 more cookies than Duke Kaboom. Lotso bakes 7 fewer cookies than Duke Kaboom. Bo Peep bakes 32 cookies. How many cookies does Lotso bake? And question 2. Woody has £9. Jessie has £6 more than Woody. Buzz has £7 more than Jessie. How much money do they have altogether? Remember, I'm not interested in the answer, I'm interested in how you work those out. So you might want to use bars to analyse, whatever resources you have available in order to solve them, and you can draw pictures or number lines to explain how you work them out. Pause the video, spend 8 to 10 minutes on those, and then share your thinking with the class. Let's discuss that first problem. Bo Peep bakes 8 more cookies than Duke Kaboom. Lotso bakes 7 fewer cookies than Duke Kaboom. How many cookies does Lotso bake? Let's look at the information we've got here. I don't know how many Lotso or Duke baked, but I can put them in order. Bo Peep baked the most cookies because we know that she baked more than Duke. And Lotso baked the least number of cookies because we know that he baked fewer cookies than Duke. Let's draw bars for each of them. Bo Peep's going to get the longest and Lotso's the shortest bar. We can describe each of those parts, and now we can put in the values that we know. We know that Bo Peep baked 32 cookies. We don't know how many Duke or Lotso baked, but what we do know is the difference between Duke and Bo Peep. She bakes 8 more, and the difference between Lotso and Duke, Lotso bakes 7 fewer. Let's work out how many Duke baked to begin with. I know that Bo Peep bakes 8 more than him. So I can work this out by counting on from 8 to 32. I can count back from 32 to 8, or I can take away 8 from 32. Let's go with taking away this time. Let's put out 10, 20, 32, which makes 32 altogether, and I'm going to record what I do on the number line. I need to take away 8 from that 32. If I try to do that in one step, it's quite tricky. So I'm going to make it easier, and I'm going to start by taking away those 2. When I take away 2 of the cookies, we're left with 30. I've got 6 more I need to take away, and when I do that, I'm left with 24. So Duke must have baked 24 cookies. Now that we've worked out how many Duke baked, we can work out how many Lotso baked. He baked 7 fewer than Duke. Again, we can count on from 7 to 24. We could count back from 24 to 7, or we can take away 7 from 24. I'm going to go with take away again. So let's put out 10, 24. So we've got 24 to start with, and I'm going to take away 7 of those. But rather than taking away all 7 at once, I'm going to do it in steps in order to make it easier for myself. I'm going to start by taking away 4, because when I take away the 4, I'm left with 20. I've still got 3 more to take away to make that 7, which means when I take away the 3 from the 20, I'm left with 17, which means that Lotso must have baked 17 cookies. Let's discuss the second problem. Woody has £9, Jessie has £6 more than Woody, Buzz has £7 more than Jessie. How much money do they have altogether? Let's look at the information we've got here. I don't know how much money Jessie or Buzz have, but again I can put them in order. Jessie has more than Woody, and Buzz has more than Jessie. I'm going to start by drawing a bar to represent Woody's £9. Now Jessie has £6 more than Woody, so let's draw that same £9, but this time we need to add an extra part for that £6. Buzz has £7 more than Jessie, so we can start by drawing exactly the same as Jessie, but we need to draw an extra part for that extra £7. I want to work out how much they've got altogether, so I know that I need to add all of that up. Now there are lots of different ways to do that. I could add up 3 lots of 9, 2 lots of 6, and then the 7, but I'm going to work out how much money they've each got first. Let's start with Jessie. She's got £9 plus £6. So let's put out 9 and 6 using our counters, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing on the number line. I'm going to start at 9, and rather than trying to count on all of that 6 at once, I'm going to add 1 to begin with. That gets me to 10, that gets me to a friendly number. Now that I've got to 10, I can add over the remaining 5 easily. And when I do that, that takes me to 15. So Jessie has £15. Let's work out how much Buzz has. He's got the £15 to match Jessie, but then he's got an extra £7. So let's put out 15 and 7. Let's start at 15, and this time I'm going to add over 5 to begin with, because that takes me to a friendly number again. That takes me to 20. I've got 2 more counters to add across, which takes me to 22, so Buzz has £22. Now that we know how much they've each got, we can add that all together. So let's put out 9, 50 and the 22. I'm going to partition. I'm going to start by adding the 10s. So there's 10, 20, 30. Now I can add the 1s, but let's make it easier on ourselves. Rather than trying to add all of those at once, let's take the 9 and one of those 2 to make a 10. I've now got 40 altogether so far. I'm left with 5 and 1, and when I add those together I get 6, and if I add that on I get 46. So altogether they have £46. It's time to discuss our success criteria. How did we achieve success? So pause the video for a few minutes, and with a partner I want you to discuss the steps that you would go through in order to solve similar problems. For both of these problems, the first thing that we did was order the parts correctly from largest to smallest, or vice versa. We knew that Bo Peep baked the most cookies, then Duke, then Lotso. Next, we can draw bars to represent each of those parts, and then we can describe those parts. After that, we can identify the differences and we can write in the values that we know. When you're analysing, you might mix steps 2 to 5 up a little. What's important is that you're doing it in a way that makes most sense to you. We analyse the problem because we can visibly see the relationship between the values, and this really helps us make decisions about the strategies that we want to use in order to solve it. It's time to try that out. Can you apply that success criteria in order to analyse and solve each of the following problems? As usual, we've got 3 different numbers within each problem. I want you to choose the numbers that are suited to you, not too easy and not too difficult. So for question 1, I'm going to use the yellow numbers. Rex has 16 marbles. Ham has 5 less marbles than Rex. Zurg has 4 less marbles than Ham. How many marbles does Zurg have? Question 2, I'm going to use the green numbers. Jessie, Buzz and Woody are picking apples. Jessie picks 42 apples. Buzz picks 16 less apples than Jessie. Woody picks 17 more apples than Jessie. How many apples do they have altogether? And for question 3, I don't have a context, there's just those diagrams. So if you're doing the mild challenge, the only information we know is that the smallest part is 7. The difference between the smallest part and the middle part is 5. And the difference between the middle part and the largest part is 3. And I want you to see how many of those question marks you can get. Can you work out the middle part? Can you work out the largest part? And could you work out the whole amount? If you're going for the green question, in this case, we know the largest part is 35. We don't know the middle part or the smallest part. We don't know the whole amount, but we do know that the difference between the largest and the middle is 9, and the difference between the middle and the smallest is 12. So which of those question marks can you get? Can you work out those 2 parts that we don't know? Can you work out the whole amount? And the last question looks really tricky. In this case, we don't know any of those parts. All we know is we've got a difference of 5 between the largest part and the middle part, and a difference of 7 between the middle part and the smallest part. We know the whole amount is 64. Can you work out any of those parts? As usual, I'm not interested in just an answer. I want to know how you work those out. So draw bars to help you analyse them. Use whatever resources you've got available to help you solve them, and draw pictures and number lines to explain how you've worked those out. Pause the video for 10 minutes or so, have a go at those, and if you're finished within the time, why don't you make up 3 problems for somebody else to analyse and solve? It's time to reflect on today's learning. So pause the video for a few minutes, and as a class or with a partner, I want you to consider each of the following questions. What have you learned today? What did you find easy or difficult? Did you get stuck? What helped you when something got tricky? What do you need more help with? What is really making you think? And what are your next steps? The last thing I'm going to ask you to do today is, can you apply what we've learned? So as a class, I want you to discuss, analyse and solve the following problem. Jessie, Woody and Buzz have £25 altogether. Jessie has £5 more than Buzz. Buzz has £4 more than Woody. How much money do they each have? Thanks for joining me again today. I hope you enjoyed that. The problems we're working on are getting trickier each week, so please don't worry if you found that tough going. If it's too difficult, take a step back. You might want to revisit a previous lesson, or you might want to reduce the values in each of the questions. The important thing here is that you're developing your ability to analyse problems, because that's really going to help you make sense of more difficult problems that you encounter. And it's going to ensure that you really understand maths rather than relying on memory. Next week, we're turning our attention to analysing and solving multiplication and division problems. I hope you can join me then.